Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great Monday. So we got a couple of things to talk about today. We got Bitfarms news. They're going to be doing the poison pill, which we've talked about as one possibility for them to avert the hostile Riot takeover for them. And then we'll take a look at also Hive provided their May production updates. We'll take a look at that. They're actually buying some more miners, which is good news there. But other than that, I think that's it. Bitcoin's kind of coming down a little bit here right now on the day, so we'll take a look at that, what's going on with it, with the miners and the Bitcoin charts. But as always, you guys know the drill here, not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research. And you know this drill here. This is all my disclosures for you guys. If you guys enjoy this type of content, hit like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. But let's take a look at what's going on here with Bitcoin here really quick. It is kind of plunging a little bit here right now. We're down to 68,547 right now, which we were trading kind of in this pattern here, or at least on this sideways action here, at least a couple days here, last 3 days at least. And then today, just right before I went live here, it just dipped here, and it dipped not really hard, but it just dipped. What is it down right now? It is down roughly 1.37%, but it's still a dip. If you look at the 1 hour chart, you can see here, doink, it went down nicely here. So the 1 hour RSI is right now below the 30, so that's me telling me that it's oversold right now. 15, same thing. It's oversold on the 1 minute. We're still oversold on that one, so we might bounce off of that a little bit here on it. But we're still trading sideways more or less in this. I mean, you can see where the bottom is, kind of like the tops are. And we're just kind of in this pattern here, trading sideways, accumulation phase happening here in Bitcoin right now. Not a big deal. We'll take a look at the miners here shortly, but let's take a look at some Bitcoin charts here really quick. This is the network hash rate for Bitcoin. This is 7-day average. It is up a little bit here. It's up to 604 exahash right now. Still not far, but definitely lower than where it was before. For the high, 657 exahash. If we look at the 30-day average really quick, we can see that's also climbing back up a little bit as well to 605 exahash on that one. And then if we look at the Bitcoin transaction fees per day, those have come down. We're at 65, still pretty high overall compared to where we were before. So that's looking good for the miners. This is the hash price index, on the revenue that the miners get per day per petahash, and it's at $60, so that's pretty good also, right? Not too bad. And then as far as today is concerned, well, the miners were a little bit mixed today on the day. Bitfarms was down 4.17%, and that's based on the news that came out that they are going to be having the shareholders' rights bill, more or less a poison pill, to prevent potentially Riot from doing a hostile takeover on them. Riot right now has about 12% in them. I think like Any was up 5.93%, Bit Digital was up 4.21%. You had Bitfarms down, like I said, 4%. Cypher was up 3.72%. Cleanspark just squeaked out a win here a little bit, 0.77%. CORZ was up nicely today, again, 5.53%. Then what else do we have here that was kind of nice up? Hive was up 3.93%, was 4%. IREN was actually down today, so one of the first days it was down in a while here. It started out the day pretty good, looking like it was going to maybe get to a new all-time high, but it pulled back later on. So it was down 2%, and I think it's needed. We needed a little bit of a pullback, a little bit of a breather to go forward, potentially higher as well. Marathon was up just up like a 1% here roughly. Mawson was up 4.7%, and then Riot 1.8%, and you got Stronghold down 0.28%, and Wolf was basically flat on the day. Or at least it's showing me it's flat on the day on it. So it might have started out lower, came back up and came back down. But that's the way it was today. Miners were kind of mixed here for the most part, right? Like I said before, we're going to have these ups and downs on the miners until Bitcoin really starts rallying into the next couple months and months after that as well, before we reach new all-time highs in Bitcoin. But in the meantime, it's going to be a bumpy ride for us. So just got to be patient out there. All right, so let's get into the stories that we do have here, which the main story is going to be on Bitfarms. So Bitfarms announces adoption of shareholder rights plan, and this is basically a poison pill that they're going to be instituting here. They go into a lot of the information here on this one that they released, and they're going describing what happened with Riot, all that stuff, how the company had acquired 8%, and they got to 12%, so forth, so on. And there's a lot of legalese in here as well, which I think the story here from Bloomberg is a little bit more direct, I think. So Bitfarms adopts a poison pill after Riot takeover turns hostile, and it has turned hostile towards Bitfarms here. So Bitcoin mining company is adopting a poison pill shareholder rights plan as a defense after an unsolicited takeover by larger rival Riot platforms. Right, we talked about this plenty of times already. And here's the strategy of it. So a poison pill strategy is a measure used to prevent corporate takeovers by making a deal too expensive for the acquiring company under terms of the plan. If an entity acquires an equity stake of more than 15% by September 10th, Bitfarms will issue new stock to prior existing shareholders, diluting the stake of the entity pursuing a hostile takeover, Bitfarms said in a statement Monday. So that's the way it works, basically. So if Riot continues to buy the shares in the company and they get to more than 15%, the company will issue more shares to the shareholders other than Riot, basically, diluting the shares that Riot has at that point. It's going to also dilute us in the meantime, but maybe this will be enough to stop Riot from buying more shares, and maybe they'll walk away from the table at this point because they're just seeing that they do not want to be acquired, potentially. So going down here, I don't think there's anything else in here on it. They also reported today that the Toronto Stock Exchange, so this is Bitfarms announces Toronto Stock Exchange deferral of consideration of shareholder rights plan. And I think this is just a regular standard processing, the way things work. So today announced that it has been notified by the Toronto Stock Exchange that the TSX will defer its consideration of the acceptance of the company's tactical shareholder rights plan, as announced earlier today, until, number one, such time as it is satisfied that the appropriate Securities Commission will not intervene pursuant to National Policy 62-202, and two, the ratification of the rights plan by the shareholders of the company by no later than December 10th, 2024. So we got to have a ways to go, obviously. So a deferral of the acceptance of the rights plan by the TSX does not affect the adoption of or operation of the rights plan, which will remain operative and effective for a minimum of 6 months from the date of adoption on June 10th, unless earlier terminated. Okay, so that's basically stating that this is all in effect. If Riot continues to purchase shares, trying to get a hostile takeover going, the company will use the poison pill plan to remedy that potentially, right? So I don't know if there's any way that you can possibly subvert the poison pill at any point. I think the only way you could do is maybe if you turn the board around to the plan of the merger, or not the merger, but the buyout, how maybe they can persuade them to see that it's beneficial to not only Bitfarms, but to the shareholders. But based on where the company is valued right now, I think it's still way undervalued. And they probably believe the same thing, Bitfarms that is, that the company is way undervalued from where they should be based on their future growth going forward. And I agree. Right now, I think is not the time to sell. They don't have debt. They're in a good financial position. Their growth plans are great. So based on all of those things, I see absolutely no reason why Bitfarms should sell right now, and they should do everything that they can to fight this hostile takeover, which they are doing with this poison pill. So I think this is good. We understandably, we don't want to be diluted, but if that's what it has to come down to, so be it, right? But I'm still holding my shares. I haven't sold anything yet. But yeah, I'm still long-term, I'm bullish on Bitfarms. We just need to get the CEO in place. Why can't they figure out the CEO situation there? Maybe this has an impact on it as well. But that and their operations are really good. They're at 9.5 exahash last reported, installed, not energized, right? That's supposed to be happening sometime this month in June, and they're supposed to get to maybe like 12 exahash by the end of June as well. So if they can do those things and get a CEO in place, I think maybe things will turn around for Bitfarms and the shareholders there as well. Okay, but we'll get into that obviously in the Q&A side of things as well. But that is it for Bitfarms here. Like I said, I'm still holding on. I'm still pretty bullish on the company going forward here. We just got to get past the FUD. All right, so that's it on Bitfarms here. Let's take a look at Hive here. So Hive Digital announces May 2024 Bitcoin production. HODL grew 3% to 2,451. Maintained positive operating margin after April halving, and announces the acquisition of 1,000 new Bitmain S21 Pro Ant miners. This is great news for them. They have, for the most part, like almost every month, they came out with some news that they're buying more miners to replace some of the older miners that they have. And I do have them replacing quite a few miners there based on what I read in this release today. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But here's what we have here. So they mined 119 Bitcoin in May. They ended the month with 5 exahash of ASIC mining capacity, increased their HODL to 2,451 BTC, which is all good. Let's see what else we have here. Down here, so operational update. So we ended the month of May with 5 exahash, and we are on track to reach 5.5 exahash interim goal and achieve a global average fleet efficiency of 25 joules per terahash once our remaining S21 Ant miners Ship thus far from our total order quantity of 8,165 S21s, 6,495 S21s have been shipped and installed. So I updated my numbers based on this. Of the remaining 1,670 S21s, 428 S21s are shipping this week, leaving 1,242 S21s from our June batch, which are expected to ship soon as well. So they're getting close to that. We also strategically optimizing the firmware of our fleet to improve the efficiency of our 30 joule terahash miners, getting their efficiency below 30 joules per terahash, which also has lowered the total hash rate from these machines across our fleet by approximately 120 petahash per second. It has improved their efficiency, thus improving their unit economics and making them more profitable on a dollar per kilowatt hour basis. So that's great there. It's kind of hard for me to figure out which machines those are, more or less. I do have them at 5 exahash here right now with the machines being installed. I took out some older machines, so they're at least that. But I do have them at a lower joules per terahash than what they're currently reporting, being at 25 joules. That's if they get to the 5.5. I think I have them like at 22 or 23, something like that. So definitely off on that number based on this. And that's only because I don't know exactly which miners were taken offline, which miners were, well, I know which miners were brought online, but I don't know exactly which miners were taken offline and which ones were optimized on it. Now, let's see here. Luke Rossi, Chief Operating Officer, had the following to add. We are pleased to announce the upcoming acquisition of 1,000 Bitmain S21 Pro end miners, the latest and most efficient machines in the market, having a hash rate of 234 terahash per second and an efficiency of 15 joules per terahash. These units are expected to ship this month and are integral to our strategy of continually upgrading our fleet whilst growing our HODL position. And I can say this, they have been doing this continually over the last year. They have been upgrading their fleet, getting newer machines, changing out their older machines as well. The only thing, like I say all the time with Hive, is great operations, great financial situation that they're in right now. The only thing is not huge growth plans, and I think that's what's driving the stocks right now. But that is it. Let's take a look at the numbers that I do have here for them, and we'll get into the Q&A side of things. So currently, Hive has about 88 million shares outstanding. Stock price today was $2.91. Market cap for them is $256 million. Their performance over the last 12 weeks hasn't been great. It's been okay. They're down 26% from 12 weeks ago. They're up a little bit here from 8 weeks ago, about 3.3%. From 4 weeks, they're up 14.8%. And last week, they were up actually quite nicely, 11% for the week. But a lot of mines were actually up last week as well. Okay. Current hash rate, 5 exahash roughly. Future hash rate, I have them at 5.6. They're saying 5.5. All right, so they're almost fully installed there. Their Bitcoin HODL, 2,468 Bitcoin, is valued at about 171 million right now. And their HODL to market cap is about 66% right now. So they're being more valued on their HODL than they are on their operations or their growth going forward, if you want to look at it that way. Their BTC production here has been coming down like it has for a lot of the miners here at 119. That's a decrease of 93 for them. Their revenue came in at 7.76 million. It's not the lowest that they've had here, but it's much lower than where it was here, about half of what we saw here in April. BTC HODL has continued to go up here ever since, you could say, November of last year. They were kind of selling it at times last year to buy machines and things like that, but they did start to really HODL more here ever since November. Okay, total petahash. You can see that last year they were at 3.1 exahash roughly. They have come up and down a little bit as they change out older miners and replace newer miners, and then they continue to grow forward. So that is good to see as well. Monthly BTC sold. They only sold about 28 Bitcoin this past month. BTC per exahash efficiency, 23.6. I think that's going to put them in the top of the miners here for the month of May. If not the top one, they're going to be definitely in like the top 3 or 5 miners for May as far as operations are concerned. Okay, going down here to institutions. Institutions did increase a little bit here for them to 132 over the last month. Shares also increased to 40.2 million from 28, so that's a pretty sizable increase. Percentage owned by institutions is now 36.77. We still have 2 buy ratings, 1 hold rating, 0 underperforms, 0 sells. Price targets went up a little bit to 657 for the high. Average went up to 536, and the low stayed the same at $3.50 right now. Okay, going down here. Based on what they reported, so we do have quite a few miners that are getting basically ousted right now. And those are all of these here that you can see here that they had prior to this. And there were a lot of the 100 terahash miners, the 98 terahash miners. We had some 104 terahash miners as well, and 100 terahash miners as well that I took out in order for the numbers to kind of work out with the 5 exahash here, potentially based on what they have already installed of the S21s here. Okay. That got us to The let me see here, 7.757 million here. I added about 499,000, so almost 500,000 in Bitcoin transaction fees for them for the month, based on what they mined, and then the average was about was it 6.44% for the month on average for the miners. So that kind of worked out. They were operating for 31 days with the machines that they already had installed, and then the new machines, it looks like they were operating about 27 days on average, roughly, based on what I could figure out here on the numbers. Okay, so, and then like I said, I have them about 22.91 joules per terahash. They're saying that they're going to be at 25. So I'm wondering if my numbers here for them, when I track it based on the manufacturer's numbers, maybe some of my wattage is low on some of these machines. That could be the case. I'll review this maybe a little bit again to see if those are still accurate or not, if those need to be updated. But like I said, I have them at 22.9. They're saying that they're going to be at 25 roughly at that point when they get to when they get to 5.5 exahash. Okay. Now, based on all this, we can see here that they're currently at $2.91. Looking at the last 3 quarters of actual data, and I think I'm still waiting on Q1 results for them, which could be actually Q4 results for them. I haven't seen those yet. I'll have to probably check through the Cedar website to see if they reported those. But usually they would provide a press release that they have reported those. I haven't seen those yet. So we're looking at least the 2 prior quarters, the last quarter of Q4 for them, which would have been Q1 for us. And then the current quarter that we're in right now is estimated numbers for them. So based on that, I have in between $6.63 to $9.94. I do think that they are way undervalued from where they really should be valued just on their operations right now. Yes, we know that they don't have a lot of growth going forward, but their operations have been always really good. All right, and the other thing that also I noticed here, I mean, you can see their total current assets is 104 million. Their total current liabilities at the end of Q3, which was December quarter, ending was 29.85 million. So their balance sheet is really good and healthy, and it's always pretty much maintained that over the long term. And that's why it's a shame that they're not growing so much more in hash rate, because I think they would be definitely one of the top miners here if it wasn't for that growth right now that we're not seeing here with them. The other thing that I noticed here was there was really no mention here from them on the AI or HPC side of business in the press release. I was trying to figure out if there's anything. Yeah, I mean, I don't see anything on here as far as HPC AI. In the past, they would provide some information on it, how that's doing or anything like that. So that's a little interesting there. Oh, wait a minute. No, this is just about them. AI expansion. Or maybe they did provide it here a little bit. Forward-looking statements. So let me see here. Expansion into AI strategies. So diversification, Hive's diversification into HPC enables us to support artificial intelligence using NVIDIA GPUs, showcasing our adaptability and innovation beyond traditional Bitcoin mining. Revenue streams that stretch to move into HPC broadens Hive's, but no figures on it. So that is where we are at with right now. Okay. So let me know what you guys think of Hive in the comments, if you guys have any questions on them or anything like that. Like I said, I think they're a great miner, just not a lot of growth going forward from them. And that's what really investors are looking for here in these mining stocks, is huge hash rate growth, which will then result into huge potential revenues, right? But yeah, that is it. So let's get into the Q&A side of things here, see if you guys have any questions, and then we'll call it a day. So today was a pretty easy day. Yeah, but let's get into it here. Let's see, got that up. Go back over here. All right. Let's see. Let's see what you guys are let's see if there's a question up here. Sorry, guys, I'm looking for a question in here in the comments. Here's a question: How many will be buying shares of Bitfarms for a significant discount? Let's have a poll. Okay, let me try that poll there. So let's do a poll right now. Let me do a new one. So a lot of you guys, when my original question, will Bitfarms or will Riot actually stop buying shares of Bitfarms? You guys, 50%, it's 50-50 right now, so it's kind of split. So let's see here. Will you be buying Bitfarms shares now? Oh, that's a Q&A. I don't want to do a Q&A. I want to do a poll. Let's start a poll. Oh, do I have to finish? Let your poll weigh in. I think I have a poll here that's open. I need to end poll. Oh, we're learning on the fly here. All right, let's try that. There's a poll results, 50% on that question. Start a new poll. Let's see here. Will you be buying BITF now? Question mark. All right, let's start a poll. There we go. So there's the poll. The poll is up and running right now. And let's see, what other questions do we have here? Mark says, Riot just needs to call their bluff. I don't know if they're bluffing. And we don't know if Riot's bluffing about the hostile takeover either. So it's kind of, I mean, Jason is a professional poker player there, so he could be bluffing also. It would be interesting to see how that plays out. Let's see. Hank says, I would buy. We don't really dilute ourselves as we get the discount, but we would screw Riot over. Yeah. Mark, I see that you're not a fan. Drink the Bitfarms Kool-Aid. Where is Hut 8's operational report? They're one of the last ones to report always for the most part. Them and Hive. For some reason, they're always like a week or 2 weeks out after the month ends for some reason. Everybody else is really good on providing those things. Bitfarms is the best one. They're always first day out. They're reporting on it. Let's see. Is Paraguay selling cheaper hydro energy back to the miners? Will that be a discounted price? I mean, it's not selling cheap. I don't know what you mean by cheaper, but it is a little bit, I think, in line with expectations. They were selling cheap electricity to, I believe it's Brazil. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but to one of their neighboring countries there. And, you know, the Senate there, the Congress, the legislative branch, or whatever it is over there, they've stated in the past that why are they selling it at a huge discount to their neighbors when they can sell it to the miners for a much bigger profit for them? And that's kind of what we saw today. So today, I think Paraguay came out that they're going to be adding more or making more watts available to the miners going forward. So that's great news there. Let's see here. I just joined the stream. Can someone explain what a poison pill means? So a poison pill means it's protecting the shareholders from the buyout by basically diluting shares and giving those, other than the company that's trying to buy them out, additional shares in the company. That's I think like the easiest explanation of it. Let's see. Cleanspark has been consolidating for a long period of time. Are we losing opportunity cost on the other miners? If so, any miners you will recommend other than Cleanspark? Yeah, if you've been watching for the last couple, or at least the last 2 weeks or so, I did sell a portion of my Cleanspark shares, just my cost basis in them to buy IREN, and then I also picked up like $3,500 worth of CORZ as well. And when the news came out that they're getting the huge AI customer there, and I'm pretty much spent for the time being. I'm going to have to build up my cheddar again. Let's see. Do you think Bitfarms will get 27 exahash in 2020 based on their additional 100 megawatts? It's possible for them, but they haven't reported on buying anything to get to that level yet. So I think we'll all be happy if they can get to 21 megawatt or 21 exahash by the end of the year. Sebastian, if Riot bid fails, does the Riot price go up or down? Gosh, it's a good question. I mean, when they came out with the news that they were trying to put a bid in, the stock didn't do, I think it was trading like sideways, if I recall. It didn't really go up on the news. It might have gone up a little bit, but eventually it's continued to fall back down. So if they do that, that might be seen by investors as a good sign for them. That way they can concentrate on building out the Corsicana facility, which they have huge potential there. They have 1,000 megawatts there, 1 gigawatt of potential there. They just need to build it out. But I can see why Riot wants to buy Bitfarms, right? You have more diversification in the space. You're in Paraguay, Argentina, you're in Canada, you're in the United States at that point as well. Right now, Riot has 2 facilities in Texas. What happens if a tornado goes through one of those facilities, right? You're going to basically lose a lot of your hash rate at that time, potentially, if that happens. So diversification would be good for them, and there's possibly other reasons they want to do it, right? Being one of the bigger miners here, kind of trying to play catch up to Marathon, getting to 50 exahash. With the two combined, they would get to, I believe, 52 exahash at that point, so that would make them probably the largest miner there. Public one at least. They would get the great operations that the Bitfarms offers, and just the diversification as well, I think, is part of it. But it's not accretive to the shareholders of Bitfarms right now. let's see here. I think they mentioned potential add 6 exahash. Yeah, so if you translate that over into the latest, so we're talking about Bitfarms with the additional 100 megawatts, if they buy the recent S21 Pros, that would translate to about 6 exahash if they wanted to do that, but they haven't purchased anything yet. Let's see. Riot mining has been declining each month since 12/23. Now IREN produced more than Riot in May. Something is wrong, not weather related, because this is steady decline. What is going on at Riot? Riot has, in the past, I don't know what the future is going to hold for them, but in the past, they have had a issue with their Rockdale facility that got hit by a winter storm in, I think it was like December of 2022 or something like that, or in January of 2023. I can't remember exactly when it was. But ever since then, the production has been kind of crappy at Rockdale. They had to wait on parts. They didn't get parts for the repairs that they needed for like 10 to 12 months. That was part of it through 2023. So that's the reason why. And their operations suffered because of it. Recently, Jason has come out that they have issues with some miners at that Rockdale facility. I'm guessing those are the 90 terahash miners from Bitmain, and miners. They're supposed to get those swapped out with the newer generation miners, and they're supposed to be building out Corsicana. So we need to see Corsicana be operating at a much higher uptime than what it has in the past. Well, what Rockdale has in the past, at least. And then we need to see also Rockdale operations increase their uptime as well. So that's kind of the reasons why the stock has been doing pretty badly, is because their operations have been kind of crappy here the last, you could say, 14, 16 months or so, roughly. Question, what happens if Riot pivots and sells all their shares? At that point, I believe they have owned quite a bit. So 12% of the shares, its price of Bitfarms is probably going to go down at that point. If it does, and they are going to be selling those shares, I'll maybe scooping those up a little bit, buying the dip a little bit. I've always been buying the dip. If we get a sizable dip, I will be possibly buying more of Bitfarms, because at that point, I see that there's nothing but upside potential for Bitfarms going forward if we don't have the Riot overhang on that. See, Bitfarms needs anything good to happen for them and shareholders. We need a CEO there. We need a CEO. We need Riot off our back as well, and that would be much better. Logistically speaking, for this poison pill, how will Bitfarms sell new shares to current shareholders? How would they know whoever buying the shares is not affiliated with Riot? It would go based on previous shareholders. They know who the shareholders are based on the records that they get and everything else. So those people will be getting shares. I don't know if they would have to pay anything for them, or they would be just getting the shares on that one, but that's kind of how they would know. And then you really don't know. You could still have people on there or institutions that are on the side of Riot as well. But I think it all depends on the date of when those shares were bought. So there might be a timeline for that. What's up? I really don't know much about the poison pill. Seems like Bitfarms isn't happy, and shareholders will be the ones getting hurt holding either. They're playing a game of chicken here right now a little bit, and we're unfortunately the ones that are going to feel the brunt force from it. It's a poison pill is something that they can use to thwart off Riot from doing a hostile takeover on them. If they buy more than 15% of the shares, they can institute it where Riot would not get any more shares, but we as shareholders that had held on to Riot or held on to Bitfarms prior to a certain date, we would get more shares in the company at that point. So that's kind of the way it works. How difficult is it to get shareholder registry for Bitfarms? Oh, gosh, I don't know. Never thought about getting that, so I don't know. I believe I've heard companies say that they do get a list of the shares that are in the company like every day or every week or something like that. Kind of like who owns them also, I think. They get a listing of it because if they need to provide correspondences to shareholders for shareholders' votes or something like that, that's how they get the list, I believe. Frank says the Paraguay news should reduce some of the FUD. This is positive. Yeah, I agree. This is definitely great news there, right? So we're not seeing that Paraguay is going to be banning Bitcoin mining anytime soon. They're actually looking to get more mining in their country. Will the price of Bitfarms crash? If we're talking about the poison pill, I think it's just going to dilute the shares, but I don't think the price is going to crash. Maybe I could be wrong on that. Maybe somebody has some more insight on that. The only time I've ever heard about this was when Twitter was going to get acquired by Elon, right? They had there were talks about the poison pill being used there as well, and then eventually Elon actually did buy the company out. Will you buy Bitfarms shares, Seb? Yeah, I said if it dips down, my average price on Bitfarms right now is $1.40. So if it dips below that, I will be buying it. And if that is if Riot is out of the picture and not buying the company. Let's see here. Why did Bitfarms choose June 20th to initiate poison pill? Could they be planning to announce a new CEO? Yeah, I don't know on that one. Sorry. What is price prediction of Bitfarms next month? Very heavily invested. So am I. I don't know where the price of Bitcoin or Bitfarms is going to be at. Might depend on where Bitcoin price is at that point as well. If Bitcoin starts to rip, we could be higher. If Bitcoin stays where it's at right now, we could be going a little bit lower, right? It's just a lot of uncertainty right now with Bitfarms and the Riot takeover and everything else. Let's see here. Question Mark has, even if the dilute shares, wouldn't Riot still buy higher the volume of the shares at the same overall because the price would depreciate in line with the dilution, 10% dilution? Yeah, that's, gosh, my understanding is that that's not the way it works. So if you dilute, you're not actually diluting. I don't know how, geez. I gotta do some more research into this, but the way I understood it was the shareholders are getting more shares, but the company's not getting more shares at that point. So it makes it more costly for them to buy it. Yeah, that's the way I understand it. Maybe my understanding isn't that great of it. Hello, Seb. Great to watch you again tonight. Thank you. Question, please. Bitcoin's price multiplications are going down cycle after cycle. Like, for example, if Bitcoin has multiplied 5 times last cycle. Yeah, if you're looking at like the X multiple, those are going down, but the price appreciation is going up much higher. So if you remember, like from the very first cycle where Bitcoin was like at a penny, it went up to like $1,000 or something like that. We had a huge increase in the X multiple, and then the price was only $1,000 difference, right? And then the following cycle, we went from like 1,000 to, what was it? I think we went up to like 19,000, if that's the cycle I'm thinking of, potentially. So it went up 19x, but we had 19,000 in price improvement, right? And then we went from 19,000 all the way to 63,000, right? The X multiple was lower, but the price increase was much higher. And possibly the same thing is going to happen this time around as well. Hope that makes sense for you. Let's see. We'll probably do 2 to 3x this cycle, so on and so forth. This is the same case for miners as well. Like Bitfarms 10x the last cycle, it's going to be less this cycle, even though the price of Bitcoin is way, okay, I got to cover these. Bitcoin is way higher. I hope you get my point correctly. Yeah. So there's a couple differences here. Also, you have to take a look into how the miners are growing, right? Where's their hash rate back then? Where's their hash rate now? That also has to go into consideration there. Based on that, I still think we could see Marathon reaching a new all-time high, even though it reached like $80. Same thing for Riot, depending on how Riot performs. How well their operations are. Cleanspark wasn't around back then. They just became a miner here in 2021, so that's not really fair to cover them. Bitfarms, I think, can also get close to possibly their previous all-time high. But right, if you're holding on to the shares anyways from the previous all-time high to the current all-time high potentially, I think you might be doing that wrong at this point. You want to ride the cycles. You don't want to hold them for a long, long period of time. I'm saying like 2 to 3 years max. Get in on the bear markets, sell in the bull runs, and then wait for the bear markets again potentially. Let's see. I think I maybe missed a question here. No, got that one. Okay, here we go. Why is Sphere 3D been so quiet lately? What do you mean by quiet? As far as not providing any updates, buying machines, buying infrastructure, things like that? Sphere 3D is one of the smaller miners here. They only had, I think, 1.6 exahash at one point. I think they're down to like 1.4 exahash right now. They don't own any infrastructure, and they had some debt as well on top of it. Don't know how they're doing financially right now. I haven't tracked them here in a couple of days, in a couple of weeks actually. So I really don't know what's going on there with them. But that's probably why, because they just don't have the cash to do it. Let's see. Let's see. Hank says, based on Riot's total number of Bitfarms shares, almost 48 million, and their ownership at 11.6, that translates to over 411 million Bitfarms shares outstanding, I think. I would have to run the math on it, but you might be right there. Yeah, so it means basically that Bitfarms has been pulling the ATM a little bit as well. Because I have them at 390, where's my chart? Last reported, I had Bitfarms at 398 million shares. Right, so if they're at, based on your math, if they're around 400 something, then they've been diluting shares since then. Let's see. Can you tell me who has the biggest HODL as a percentage of their market cap? Will you show a table of this on the future show? I don't really, I mean, I can show you guys here really quick what that entails. Let me see. Let me go back to my sheets here. We can kind of go through those miners really quick here. So, let's see here. BitDeer doesn't hodl anything. Bit Digital hodls a little bit. They have 21% of their market cap to hodl. Bitfarms is 6.44% based on their hodl. Cypher is 12%. Cleanspark is at 11.9%. CORZ Scientific doesn't hodl anything. Hive hodls a little bit. They're at 66%. Hot 8 also going to be pretty high here, 71%. IREN doesn't hodl anything. Marathon hodls a bunch. They're at 23%. Riot at 23%. Terrible doesn't hodl. That's 0. So one of the things that you're seeing here is even though companies that have huge hodls like Hive, Hive 8, they're being valued more so on their hodl than their operations, right? Not a lot of growth there going forward. Hive, same thing, valued more on their hodl than their operations. Not a lot of growth there. But then you're seeing companies like Cleanspark, huge growth going forward, 11%. Then you got also Marathon, 23%. Even Riot at 23% right now, because Riot does have some pretty good growth plans going forward as well. So companies that have good growth plans are getting more valued on their operations, future hash rate growth than they are on their hodl. Companies that don't have a huge growth plan going forward, they get valued more so on their hodl than anything else. Okay? So hope that kind of makes sense. Let's see. Hi, so what is the indicator called on your charts? The blue and yellow indicator from TradingView on the left side of the Bitcoin charts. On the left side of the Bitcoin charts. Let me see here. What is that? Let's see. Screen. So you're talking about this one here. This is the volume indicator here. This is the VRVP, if you look for that. So that shows you where a lot of the volume is on the chart at that point, and it works on basically all the charts. It takes a couple seconds to load, but you can see where we have pretty good support on those ranges here on the daily. Down here, if you scroll back, even out, it changes out depending on the timeline that you have. So it's pretty cool. You can see where the major supports are, more or less. Okay. Let's see. Himanshi, thank you so much for the super sticker. Appreciate it. See, if you dilute the shares, Riot's 15% will be worth 8%, for example. So for them to get a seat on the board, Riot will have to purchase more shares, which would not make sense for Riot. Okay, yeah. Let's see, where on your Excel chart shows the true value of a particular stock from your analysis? Well, it's not really true value. It's my value that I place on them, right? And that's based on the last 3 quarters and the current quarter, which is estimated on them. And that is over here. So if we scroll down here, so this is for Riot, right? This is the number to look at here. I'm looking at the last 3 current quarter that's estimated, last 3 quarters if they're reported on it. I'm using the combined total. I'm looking at 50% net income and 75% net income, which usually in the bull run, that's kind of where we're at. And then that gets me to $8.14 to $12.22, where I think they should be fairly valued right now. That's not forward looking. It's just kind of back looking as far as where they are right now, more or less, where I see them. And it's been pretty good. It's been pretty close. And it's pretty close to some of the analyst estimates as well. These analysts are obviously looking further out into the future. I'm looking more where they are right now and seeing if they are currently well valued or undervalued. So if you look at like Bitfarms right now, Bitfarms is showing up 230. Excuse me. I think they should be like at $4.49 to $6.74, right? So definitely that shows me that they are way undervalued from where they should be. Okay. All right. Let's get back into here. Let's see here. Gary says, I'm thinking about 6 months down the road. Is there an inverse 100x marathon fund I can buy some shares of? I don't believe there is. I don't know if anybody would be offering 100x. You might have to go overseas to like China. You might be able to find something there. Geez, I remember seeing on some of those exchanges there on Bitcoin, you could get like 100x leverage. It was crazy. Let's see here. Bitcoin's crashing. Oh, what's going on with Bitcoin? Let's take a look. Let's see here. Bitcoin is crashing. Oh yeah, it's down 2.18% right now. Just saw that. Let's see here. But we're still in this. I mean, we can look at this. Let me see if I can draw something here on it. We can look at it really quick. Let me see. I want to draw. Gosh, I really probably should do more studying on this, how to draw things. But basically what we can see here is draw a trend line. We can see here that we have a trend right there. Well, we have basically a box that we're trading in right now on it. And we're kind of like right around here somewhere on it as well. So we keep trading in that kind of range, more or less. We'll see if this holds up right now. This is right at 67,500. We're coming down to it. We bounced pretty close to that right now, actually, not too far away from it. And that's kind of what I expect. Eventually, we will break above this and close above it. If we do, at that point, I think this is when we're going to start going up much higher. But that's kind of the way I'm looking at it right now. So I see this as still as accumulation phase right now. Probably people are trying to shake us out of Bitcoin and out of Bitcoin miners as well, trying to buy as much as they can at lower prices before things really do start to possibly rally up higher. That's kind of what I'm seeing here, at least. Okay, what is the difference between an ATM and this poison pill? Well, the ATM, they would actually get money for it, right? So when they sell shares at the market, they get cash for it. With the poison pill, they don't get any money on it. It's just a way to prevent the other company from trying to accumulate more shares and make it less appealing for them to accumulate more shares. Let's see. Will there be a new majority owner of Bitfarms after poison pill? That I don't know. I think there's going to be a bidding war. Riot going to use 230 as a baseline price. Bitfarms keeps fighting until end of year. Goals hit. Reworked deal with Riot drives price up. Yeah, I think once Bitfarms starts getting to like 12 exahash, 15 exahash, I think the stock is going to have to go up at that point because they're just going to be making more revenue as well. At that point, it's going to make it maybe too expensive for Riot to buy them out. And like I said before, Riot could build out at a much lower cost than they could buy Bitfarms for right now. Everybody knows $2.30 is just way undervalued for where they should be. So that sale is not going to go through anytime soon. But there's, like I said, there's benefits to owning Bitfarms for them. The low price was obviously would have been a steal for them. And then having operations in other countries as well would have diversified their operations, less risk that way. So it was a pretty good win-win for them at this point. Let's see. It doesn't seem unreasonable to think we will get well over 50 million shares or 500 million shares outstanding if a poison pill is initiated. Any concerns of future reverse split? This concerns me. When we're getting that high, we might see it. I don't know if we're going to see it. It might not be a bad time to do it with a reverse split in the bull run. At that point, I think it might be kind of obfuscated a little bit, or what's the word I'm looking for? Where it's not as huge an impact, I think. If they go from 500 million to, let's say, 100 million, right? Do a 1 for 5, basically, or 5 for 1 reverse split. At that point, it might not be that bad if we're in a bull run. Let's see here. Ed, thank you so much for the super chat. Could you please point out clearly the difference between the poison pill strategy and the regular ATM offering? Thank you. Yeah, so I just talked about that here a second ago. With the poison pill, the company does not get any cash from it, from sale of the shares. The poison pill is used to give more shares and more voting rights to the company, to the shareholders of the company, right, that aren't for this takeover bid, and to the board as well and everybody else. So that's kind of the way it works, but they're not getting any cash for it, and it will dilute shares because of it. Let's see here. Brad, yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, it's a pretty cool indicator. Let's see here. Seb, interesting news. Congrats on IREN, by the way. Thank you. We love to see the gains with Bitfarms. I'm starting to get more bullish. The interview with Ben he seemed super confident and relaxed in this. Is this bullish? Yeah, I mean, they know that they're way undervalued, right? They know that they've had some FUD, and they've had some FUD around the board there as well. There's some probably hiccups there as well. The CEO news wasn't great that it got canned, but Ben is an operations guy. He knows what's going on there, so I believe he sees what's the potential value of the company, and I see it here also. Just looking at the charts and price action of it right now, it's way lower from where it really should be. So if we can get past this Riot, if Riot can finally get off of this and go do their thing, I think it would be much better for the stock going forward. But how long will that take? I don't know. It could be a couple months before that happens. But yeah, I'm still super bullish on Bitfarms right now. Let's see. I own Wolf, Riot, and I'm thinking to buy Bitfarms. Should I wait until this drama is over? I'm not asking for financial advice, just your thoughts on it, please. Yeah, I mean, you can wait until all this drama is over with it. I don't know where the stock price is going to be at that point. So if you see this as a potential good entry point, maybe you get into it, maybe you don't, maybe you dollar cost average into it. That is up to you. But I do think with their growth going forward, everything else, I do think that they are way undervalued currently from where they really should be. Let's see. We need Roaring Kitty. Yeah, I mean, we need to have Roaring Kitty go on a podcast, or not a podcast, but his live stream or tweet, getting into the Bitcoin miners. Oh my gosh, all the miners would go up at that point like crazy. He's got some influence there. Let's see. If Bitfarms doesn't get the cash for the shares from a poison pill, who gets the cash then? What am I missing? You're not missing anything. You're just diluting the shares. So you're just making, so instead of having, let's just say 100 million shares, you could go up more to like 200 million shares, but the shares price is going to be the same. And I think the price will at that point will come down. I don't know. I think that's the way it works. And then the price will come down a little bit based on that. So then they have to buy more shares of it, or somehow it works like that. Or they're selling it at a penny, I think, or something like that to the shareholders. So it's not going to be a huge amount if they do get something for it. Yeah, that's kind of the way I understand it. I think the poison pill gives new shares to current shareholders except for Riot for like, yeah, it's like a penny or something like that. Or something like that. It's like for zero. Are there any insiders buying right now? That's a great indicator. Let me see if I have that. Let me see if I can look that up really quick. And I don't have my app up and running right now. Let me see if I can pull it up here really quick. Let's take a look at Bitfarms. Let me see if we can find it in Corp Actions. I have to log in. Okay, so I can't do it right now. I will take a look at that, see if I can find that. Let's see. Hive has only 88 million shares outstanding. Do you think eventually they have to go to 10x from here? Maybe not this year, but next year. Less shares outstanding, great operations, great HODL, HPC. I don't know if they can go 10x, and the only reason is growth. I think you're getting more of a premium on growth going forward than you are than you're not for growth, right? They don't have a lot of growth going forward, so that's the main thing. If they come out and said that they're getting to 12 exahash, 15 exahash by, let's just say, even the first quarter of 2025, I think that would move the stock. Right now, they're just happy and content with getting to only 1% of the Bitcoin network hash rate overall. They did say they want to get to, I believe, 8 exahash by the end of the year. And then if Bitcoin network hash rate gets to 800 exahash, that's 1% of the Bitcoin network hash rate. That's kind of where they've been talking about for a while here being at. Keep buying Bitfarms. We are good for surprise. Yeah, I hope so. Let's see here. Ryan Cohn should add BTC to the GME balance sheet. Yeah. Let's see here. Hi, Seb. Thanks for the update. What do you think about SMLR, Similar Scientific? Didn't they just come out today, or when did they come out? That they were buying more shares? Not buying more shares. Buying more Bitcoin onto the balance sheet for their company. I believe that's the case. So they're kind of following the playbook of MicroStrategy, and we're seeing that with them. There was another company also that came out as well that they're buying more. I think there was one or two more companies that came out that are buying more Bitcoin to put on their balance sheet as a what do they call it? A treasury asset tool. Let's see here. Look at the social network movie where Mark gave the other main shareholders, except the CFO, and diluting his shares and voting right. I think that's an example of a poison pill. Okay. Yeah, I remember that movie there. I'll have to take a look at that. let's see here. 12 exahash hiring with a new CEO on July release. Bitfarms will run. Yeah, if they can get the CEO, get to 12 exahash, I think that would be very, very good news for the stock. Where is Cleanspark with the latest ATM? I don't know. It's been kind of strange trading with Cleanspark here. I don't trade them, but I own Cleanspark. But if you look at the trading sessions on Cleanspark, a lot of times you'll see it like in the morning, it'll be in the green. And then by the end of the day, it goes red, while other miners will still be in the green. So it's a little strange there. So it looks like they are possibly pulling on the ATM there. I have no evidence of that. I'm just looking at the chart, the way it's working out so far. Let's see, which miners are leading the growth race? Thank you. So Cleanspark has plans to get to 32 exahash by the end of the year. They've purchased 50 exahash worth of machines that are being delivered this year too. So don't know if they can even get to that 50 exahash this year. Probably not be until sometime next year, I'm guessing. Riot's planning to get to 31 exahash this year. They have machines on order to get to past 40 exahash, I believe, next year. Marathon's planning to get to 50 exahash on that one. IREN's getting to 30 exahash. Bitfarms are getting to 21 exahash. So those are kind of like the top growth miner stocks there. Those are the ones that I would watch. Okay, and I think we are caught up with all your guys' questions. And thank you so much for coming in. And then based on, let's take a look at the poll results. So 56% of you guys have stated that you guys would buy Bitfarms now. Will you be buying Bitfarms now? 56% said yes, 43% said no. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it right now. If Riot does stop with the acquisition of hostile acquisition of Bitfarms, and the stock dumps because of it or something like that, at that point I might pick up some more shares. I may have to fit my little fingers into the piggy bank jar a little bit more on that one. But yeah, so that is it. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow, yeah, maybe Riot will, not Riot. Maybe Hut 8 will report their May updates. What else do we have here coming up? I think that's it. I'm still waiting. I believe I'm still waiting on Hive also to provide. Yes, I'm waiting on them to provide their quarterly results for Q1, which is their Q4. And that is it. Yeah, so we'll see what happens tomorrow. But again, thank you so much for coming in to watch this. As always, the Patreon members get access to my spreadsheets. The link for that is down in the description. $8 a month for that. If you pay for the annual subscription, you get 10% off of that as well. And there might be a couple spots at the $5 and $4 range. And you get access to the Discord server as well. So that's my sales pitch there. But again, thank you so much for coming in to watch this. Greatly appreciate you guys. We had 261 concurrent viewers today, which is fantastic. Hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. And I greatly appreciate you guys coming in. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Hopefully you have a great Tuesday. We'll see what happens tomorrow. And then we'll obviously talk about it here at the night. Okay? So wish you all well. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.